Bjorn and Fudd's Top 10.
Tonight on Cabin Country, Bjorn and Fudd review their top 10 favorite pop songs from 1976. Those mellow American hits played over and over again in monophonic excellence on AM radio. A listening experience which made the 3-hour drive to the cabin seem like 5 or 6 hours. So sit back, relax, and open up your favorite soda pop as Bjorn and Fudd take us back to that golden year of popular music, 1976. $1976, Bjorn.
76, the bicentennial.
That's right, the bicentennial. It was quite a year. I turned 10 in December of 76, but you were 10 June, right? Isn't that your...
Yep, very early June, and...
So a couple of 10-year-old boys heading up to their respective cabins.
Correct.
And for me, that 1976 was like year 2 or 3 of our place my dad built on Lake Osakis. So the shack was on borrowed time when my cousins weren't there in the early 70s, 71 through 74.
Sure.
And then we had this place. It was way different, but a bigger cabin, and one that my mom came up to more often than she would go to the shack.
Right.
So that meant we were listening to a lot of pop music on the way to...
music, you bet.
And from. We were discussing this before deciding on the year 1976. Bjorn, what made you decide that let's do 76 first off?
Yeah, I don't, it just seemed to hit kind of that sweet spot. I'm not sure why exactly. The bicentennial quarters and
right.
Possibly, I'm trying to remember, was a $2 bill a thing in 1976? I'm not sure. I don't recall.
More trivia to look up.
Probably not. But yeah, right. You're still a kid, and your bicycle is your best friend, and then there's going to be the weekend trips up to the cabin. And for me, our family, that was about year 4 of the pine box on concrete blocks and the Brainerd Chain of Lakes area. And yeah, man, it was... you got WDGY, I'm guessing. Maybe a little KSTP every now and again.
If my mom was in the car, we had the dial tuned to that. It was a little more pop, and you hear a little more disco infused, a little more R&B.
You bet.
But otherwise, if it was my dad, it was WCCO.
That's what I heard.
So, yeah.
Entirely, the entire way, until we lost the signal somewhere shy of Brainerd, and you still got it. It was just crackly, and he didn't like that, so he'd start switching over to the local stations. But yeah, it was going to be WCCO. My parents were kids of the Great Depression, so CCO just made sense. I mentioned this before on the show. My mom referred to anything, vaguely soft pop. And, from there on out, it was Yaha music. I don't want to hear any of that Yaha music. And trying to find the definition of that, I think it just meant electric guitars of some sort. But CCO would hit those common themes that they didn't seem to mind. Well, it's sort of new. You won't mind it, right? And like you said, 3-hour trip that became 6 because of the musical selections. And
right. My memory of listening to WCCO is that it was like 3/4 talking.
Yep.
And then every once in a while they would put a song on.
Without a doubt.
So,
without a doubt. A lot of the favorite characters and shows that they would run on CCO, whichever DJ was doing their bit. But yeah, you'd get maybe 2 songs every hour. I don't know. Maybe 4. Like. I'm not sure. Mix it up a little bit, but they seem to be of a very distinct vein. Yeah. And so that was what I heard every weekend, or sometimes if we were going up midweek or whatever, that was what we were going to hear, and you heard a fair piece of that yourself. So.
And I still hear it.
Yeah, it hasn't gone away.
Right. Well, now with how easy everything is, so easy to access, and it is fun to be able to go
absolutely
on one of your favorite streaming musical apps or whatever, and just create a list like that, and that is fun. And of course, our kids now, mine are currently 14 and 15, and yours are a bit older, and so our kids have been getting into the kind of the 80s, I think, more so than the 70s.
The nostalgia of the stuff we listened to as high school kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But yeah, this is part of cabin country. Oh, excuse me. Boy, I can't speak. So I think our goal, what is our goal? We want to come up with a good top 10 list,
right,
of the favorites or the songs we love to hate as kids.
Correct.
On the way to and from the Brainerd area, cabin country.
Songs that were definitely a kind of a zeitgeist. I mean, it takes you back to that time. You maybe don't hate them. You certainly don't love them. But I'm in the back of a old two-tone Ford Pinto, hoping beyond hope we don't get rear-ended. I go into space, you know.
Squeaky cooler.
You bet. The squeaky cooler, maybe the wrong time of year, the lawnmower. You know, the whole bit, get up and close and personal with that space cut lawnmower and the squeaked cooler and what are they gonna play once we're sitting in traffic on Highway 10? Back in the day when Highway 10 was lots of stoplights and you were stuck, man. That was just how it was. You know, my dad hadn't quite figured out the highway routes to skirt around some of these traffic jams and bog downs, and so the radio was on, and what were we going to be hearing? And Fudge, you've got your top 10 list, I've got mine, and there will be some crossover, but I think in a couple of cases too, I may have sidestepped one of my favorites, quote unquote, in hopes that you put it on your list, because there are some heavy hitters in 1976. So if you want to lead off with one that spoke to you. Sure.
Well, let's see here. At the top of my list, and there isn't any real...
Is there an order to this, or is it...
Yeah, not really an order. These are just the ones that I wrote down as I thought of them or as I came across them. And the first one on my list is Afternoon Delight.
Oh, yes. Starland Vocal Band.
Starland Vocal Band. I even have a tiny bit of trivia here on a note card. Where is that? Here we go. Starland Vocal Band. This would be an example of a one-hit wonder band because they didn't really have another hit other than Afternoon Delight.
Well, you were mentioning earlier, though, I mean, that one Titanic hit netted them a television show for a while.
They did. They had a 6-week running, it's like, what was it called here? The Starland Vocal Band Show.
Well.
And here's a little interesting bit of trivia, is that one of the writers of that show was David Letterman.
Oh, my God.
And he even appeared on this show.
Wow.
And that was in 1977, but the hit came out in 1976. And we heard it all the time, and it has vivid memories of that place on Osaka, sunny afternoons, and my brothers and I chasing garter snakes. You know, my dad's homemade duck boat, as we mentioned before, was upside down in the yard. And I was the oldest brother, so I made my brothers lift the upside-down duck boat up, and then 3 or 4 of those babies would start squirming their way, sneaking away in the grass, and I had a stick. So
here we go.
I was the avenging... My mom hated snakes, and of course I didn't like them either. So Afternoon Delight is on in my head in the background as I'm with my ball cap, making my brothers do the dirty work, and then I got to kill the snakes, and then we'd stick them out thinking eagles or something would come and get them. I don't know if they eat snakes, but...
Crows.
But yeah, how about you? What memories do you...
I just think it's funny that Afternoon Delight has a certain meaning for one segment in our society, and in your world it means putting on baseball caps and killing garter snakes with sticks.
It does sound kind of dreamlike.
It's unique.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And that crackling through the single speaker of a Ford Pinto. That was a big one too. 76. You know, the list is very long. One that always got my dad grinning because he was an older guy, I guess. You know, in the mid to late 70s already. He was no longer part of the younger set, and he would hear C.W. McCall's Convoy.
Yes.
And just thought it was germane in a couple ways. There were lots of semi-trucks, you know, on the highway as we were cruising up north, and he'd always ask questions like, "Oh, you suppose we can get him to put the hammer down? You know, blow his horn? And what do you think? I wonder what he's listening to in that truck." But at one particular point in the song, C.W. McCall makes reference to a dozen long-haired friends of Jesus in a chartreuse microbus, and that was guaranteed to get my dad just snickering like the dog off Dudley Do-Right. He'd have the pipe clenched between his teeth. 11 long-haired friends of Jesus. Oh, and the hippie van. Oh my gosh, I know what they're talking about.
So your dad might have been one of those older guys that coined the phrase, "Get a haircut, hippie."
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Get a haircut, take a bath. Yep.
Yeah, that was a good one. Convoy remains the only song I ever in my life, when I was a kid, called the radio station and actually said, "Can you play Convoy?" And I listened, and probably an hour later I finally heard it because it was on the regular rotation.
Yeah, you bet.
But, yeah, very strange. I do have a bit of trivia on that. C.W. McCall was actually a character co-created by writers Bill Fries and Chip Davis. Chip Davis, of none other than Mannheim Steamroller.
Oh, wow.
Created this character and wrote that song, and of course based on the CB slang at the time.
Right.
One of my dad's good friends had two boys. The older brother, John, had a CB radio.
Right.
So I remember being in his bedroom, and he turned it on, and breaker 19, looking for any southbound traffic going down on I-90. You know, I of course, as a kid, I'm like, cool.
Right.
So, yeah, that song. And, of course, listening to it now in prep for this this episode, I'm thinking, good, this was a hit?
Yeah.
What the heck?
Well, keep in mind, I think this is about the same era as, like, a couple years earlier, The Streak, Disco Duck, Mr. Jaws. There was a lot of strange. And we had, our own generation, welcome to 1982, 83, Pac-Man Fever.
You're right.
Oh, my goodness.
I guess they refer to those as novelty songs.
Yeah, novelty songs, absolutely. You're going to hear them in a diner somewhere, halfway to the northern boundaries of the state.
So that's two songs, right?
Yeah, we got Convoy and the Afternoon Delight Snake Killing Festival.
Right.
Right.
Yes. Well, number 3, again, this isn't in any particular order other than how we're just thinking of them. Moonlight Feels Right.
Oh, gosh.
By Starbuck.
Starbuck.
Moonlight Feels Right. And I just could never stand the way he finished one of the verses. And
I remember seeing them on something like the Mike Douglas Show. My mom used to watch, or Merv Griffin, something like that. And they were on, and they were all wearing suits, with the shirts open way down to the navel, and really kind of boot cut, kind of flare.
Right.
Suit pants, and then I just remember they were all standing in front of little keyboards, and they were all wearing flat caps or pork pies.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It's like, what are you guys all going bald? Not. There's nothing wrong with that. Hey, whatever. I'm not taking shots, but I just remember, two of the kind of hot shots in the band were wearing flat caps. And
the
kind of stylish.
Of course, anybody familiar with the song is that there's a killer vibraphone solo in there. I mean, he's
all over.
It's pretty crazy. He's
rolling
got
with it.
A shirt, unbuttoned all the way down to his belly button. The song was actually released on December 31st in 75, and they apparently, according to Casey Kasem, American Top 40 back in 1976, so the band hand-delivered 400 records of that song to different radio stations, but since it was kind of springy and warm weatherish, the stations didn't play it till later in the spring, so not until April of 76 did it really become
flowered, if you will,
on the charts. Yes.
Well, it definitely felt, it was right into that kind of yacht rock thing.
Oh yeah.
Just kind of, hey, whoa, this is
indeed
fancy pants, cocktails, and lots of people making the scene, being seen, kind of stuff, and they get lumped into on a lot of the apps out there, the one-hit wonders. I mean, I can't think of another song Starbuck ever did.
No, if it helps give you an indication, the B-side, if you look it up, the B-side of that record was called Backlash LaRue, based on a cowboy actor in the 50s, I think.
Sure.
Who was known for his King of the Bullwhip.
Yeah. Deft hand with a bullwhip. Which
we're thinking I'm thinking that it was a pretty good influence on Spielberg and Lucas for the Indiana Jones character in his whip. Because they did say that they wanted to make a film that was very similar to those old Western serials that left you cliffhanging, at the end of an episode. And
Right.
you have to come next time to see it. So, but yeah, I certainly never heard that song.
Does Lash LaRue get out of the cave-in gold mine, or is he eaten by steers? Yeah, it's steers. Yeah. Well, in that same vein, Fudd, I include this because, again, I heard it a lot on The Good Neighbor, on CCO. It could cross all genres of radio stations, and it did. And when I hear this guy's name, I picture kind of the big velvet tux, maybe the untied velvet bow tie, big sideburns, this kind of smooth grin, and a very deep, smooth voice. And again, I'm sure if you're a fan, the guy had lots of albums. If you're kind of into that light jazz kind of sound, this guy's probably a mainstay. But I only know him for one song, and that's Lou Rawls.
Oh, yeah.
You'll Never Find Another Love Like Mine.
Yes.
And it was one of those songs that never really seemed to end. I mean, you could hear the last refrain for that song. You're gonna miss my loving. You're gonna miss my when it's cold outside. And it was just, we'd be driving for like 20 minutes, and it was still going. And I was like, my God, I don't mind it, but does this thing ever end? I mean, it's like...
And there's no pushing the skip or fast forward.
Oh, God, no.
This is radio. You're at the mercy of their playlists. Because I know that a lot of the stations that were doing the top 40 kind of stuff, or the very popular kind of stuff, the Billboard Top 100, they were playing 45s. Yeah.
And they're playing 45s, little 45 RPM single records.
Right.
And I was like, how did they get that much on a 45? Right. You've got to be kidding me.
Oh, man.
Anyway, Lou Rawls, I did like his voice. It was very smooth, very low.
Yeah.
I had older sisters. I can't vouch for my sister closest to me in age, but I know my oldest sister always thought, Lou Rawls.
Give it to me, baby.
That's a velvet voice, man. That's beautiful.
You'll never find.
You'll never find.
Yes, Lou. I was kind of the Vegas entertainer kind of.
Yeah.
Tonight at the Stardust.
The voice and it's
7, 9, and 11. Lou Rawls.
And again, it's like I don't think he never got another record that was in the Billboard.
Nothing of that scale, I can't imagine. I can't imagine, but yeah, boy, and that was the kind of stuff. There was, a lot of keyboard, a little bass, some horns, synthesizer, drum going on. There wasn't a lot of loud, raucous electric guitar, so my mom and dad were completely okay with it. Like, he's such a nice voice.
Give it to me, baby.
It's such a nice voice. It's not over the top, isn't it? Yaha.
Right, no, nothing yaha.
Nothing at all. You'll never find any yaha in Lou Rawls. Nothing found on Mr. Lou Rawls? You didn't...
Well, no, other than just, came out May 76, and it was his first and only record to reach the Billboard's top 10.
Wow.
But... I think he did
quite
an
achievement. Yeah, that's not bad.
And with a golden throat like that, I'm sure he had a big following. But another song that just really smacks of my childhood, and a part of that, of course, was going to the cabin country, was Seals and Crofts' "Get Closer."
Oh yes, made my list as well.
And apparently that was like their 8th album. This is by 1976, and it was their last top 10 hit.
Wow.
And they, earlier in their careers, were before they kind of struck out big with like Diamond Girl and Summer Breeze and stuff like that.
Summer Breeze.
They were, for a couple of years, they were in a band with Glenn Campbell.
Okay.
Glenn Campbell and the
Wrecking Crew,
GCs, yeah,
wow.
in the early '60s. But the sound, the voices of Seals and Crofts were just kind of ever present, just like the summer breeze, and flowing with the jasmine flowing with the Seals and Crofts of my mind.
Well, I always got that confused with Sid and Marty Crofts, H.R. Puffin stuff, and Sigmund and the Sea Monster. I was like, are these the same guys? They can't be. I mean, that kind of frightening live action, weird styrofoam foam rubber costume sea monster-y. What's going on here? I don't get it. And then these guys come out with these sort of smooth rock anthem. No. Totally different. These are musicians. Sid and Marty Krofft make shows for small children.
No,
that will haunt them for the rest of their lives.
James Seals and Dash Crofts.
Dash.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Apparently big into the Baha'i faith or something.
Okay. Well, yeah, not at all uncommon in 1976.
No, not at all.
Very, very popular.
A lot of religious exploration.
Without a doubt.
Of many different bands.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Well, the next, and you're going to find mine is going to sound a lot more like the last child of Great Depression era parents, because the stuff this is what they would listen to. You know, if we were going to get, you know, the Bay City Rollers doing Saturday night, they were going to change the station. It was just like, I don't know what we're going to listen to, but it sure as heck can't be this. So forget it. You know, or Hot Chocolate. I believe in miracles, you sexy thing. That nope.
Too much.
Over the top.
How about Donna Summer's Love to Love You Baby?
Never heard it. Never heard it because I think both my parents were offended.
I was listening to it earlier today and remembering that on the trip home from the cabin in Osagus, it was on, and thinking, why is she making those weird moanings? I didn't, 10 years old. It was a while before I kind of knew.
Woman's in pain. That's dedication. She's in great pain, but continues to record.
But I can't imagine my dad stomaching that. I'm sure that was when it's, all right, we got to turn this on.
We got kids in the car.
That's right.
That's this, for Pete's sake, yes.
Don't go away. Bjorn and Fudd will return with more of their favorite soft pop hits from 1976. Cover versions of these songs were created for the Cabin Country podcast by Engineer Don. Using the original recordings would be an infringement of copyright, and Bjorn and Fudd could be sued and fined to the full extent of the law. We'll return in a moment.
Cabin Country would like to thank you for making the Cabin Country podcast the #1 podcast on GSPN, the Gas Station Podcast Network. If your favorite gas station doesn't play Cabin Country while you are at the pumps filling your tank, please tell them that you want to hear Cabin Country while you gas up. Nothing says gas like Cabin Country. You are a hunter, an angler, a friend of the backwoods. Any time spent away from the outdoors is time lost. The work world of 9 to 5 wears you down, makes you feel less effective, makes you feel like it's all falling apart.
Forest 420, the elixir that can bring back your outdoor swagger. 1 2-ounce bottle of Forest 420 will restore personal alertness better than a double shot of espresso. Forest 420 will mask most hunter smells, making you invisible to your prey up in the deer stand or out on the drive hunt. It will improve your posture and make you feel taller, more in control. Forest 420 will return male and female vitality to those with flagging libidos, giving you back your blush of youth.
420 will help you stay odor-free on hot days or high-pressure work days when personal freshness is a sure sign of self-control and command of all situations. It will bring back follicular growth on hairlines that are receding, actually growing new hair where none existed in the past. Forest 420 will actually improve your eyesight, daily use having restored most minor vision issues back to 20/20 within 1 month of use.
420 has been credited with bringing the powers of clairvoyance and clairaudience to some users. Now you know what they're thinking. Forest 420 is also a first-class carburetor cleaner for all engine systems, including most inboard and outboard marine motors.
The road to daily success in life is clear, concise, and right in front of you. Forest 420. Wake up and smell the great outdoors today.
Some of the ingredients in Forest 420 has been found to cause hyperactivity, bladder control issues, and occasional coma in lab rats in the state of California and province of Manitoba. Ask your doctor if Forest 420 is right for you.
Hey, good looking. We'll be back with a Forest 420 for you later. I got a Forest 420, and I love it.
Bjorn and Fudd's Top 10.
Is it me again? It's me
it's
again
you.
already, Fudd? Wow.
It's you, Bjorn.
And I still kind of like this song, Fudd. I'm not going to lie. I don't know what it is about it that just kind of this weird, almost somnambulist kind of sleepwalking kind of... What's going on here? What was going on with Paul McCartney at this point in his life? But Wings, let him in.
Let him in, oh yes.
Someone's knocking at the door. Somebody's ringing the bell. Do me a favor. Open the door.
And let
him in.
Yeah, I didn't write it down, but I did look it up, and the names he mentions, like Uncle Ernie.
Auntie Gin.
Uncle Ernie was referring to Keith Moon.
Okay. Yeah, from Tommy.
Yeah.
The bizarre, very disheveled and mentally unstable Uncle Ernie. Yes.
I don't even remember that. So Auntie Jen was actually an auntie.
Okay.
And Phil and Don, of course, were the Everly Brothers.
Got it.
And he just, if I remember right, in an interview, he just said that, we just imagined that it's like if we were having a party, we imagined a lineup of friends and relatives outside the door wanting to get into the party, and this is who we thought of. And
right, okay.
I mean, that's kind of a real...
Keith Moon coming to your party would certainly set things on a curious edge. You know, he'd be the guy half naked running around on the ceiling.
That's another legendary character I know very little about.
Yeah, but, you know, the storied drummer for The Who lived a very crazy existence. And the phrase wild man kind of...
okay.
Yeah, he was all about excess at all times. And, you know, sadly, that took his life. He's not unique in that way, but the band arguably never really the same after his death. But yeah, Keith, considered by many to be the preeminent rock drummer. I mean, if you wanted, and I was just hearing a piece. I'm a Who fan and fascinated by the history of that band, and people talking about Keith Moon's drum style. He was like a classically trained drummer, and drummed along, kind of following the vocal patterns of Roger Daltrey. So his drum fills would often kind of mimic what Daltrey was singing.
Oh, really?
And not your typical straight-up rock drummer, you know, doing the specific rock beats or, you know, backbeat kind of thing. He was unique and very good, but curious to say the least.
Well, we recently lost Neil Peart of Rush.
Of course, yes.
And he was, Rush was one of the, I think really the only rock band that I followed and went to a lot of concerts. Of course, if you're a white male in America, you know, who's born in the late 60s, you probably are a Rush fan.
Right.
But, he also attributed influence by Keith Moon. So
hard not to. He and John Bonham of Led Zeppelin, pretty big deals. But it's funny you mentioned Rush and growing up, and I'm not any different. Fudd, I've saw them several times and owned a lot of vinyl, and playing that music in car trips for my son, thinking, hey, you like the loud stuff every now and again, you're going to get into this. And I just remember a younger son of mine saying, I'm with you except for the voice. I just can't stand the way the guy sounds. And now he's a soon to be 21-year-old college guy. Mm-hmm. He's like, oh, they're the best, man. Rush,
really?
They're great. Are you kidding me? In fact, he's teaching himself how to play Closer to the Heart on his guitar.
Buck Fielding would be extremely elated to hear that.
He would
Buck's
be thrilled. Yeah,
huge Rush fan.
Yeah, they don't get much more into Rush than Buck Fielding.
And I don't know if any of our Cabin Country listeners are Rush. What are you talking about? Let's
Rush? What is Rush?
How about Leonard Skinner?
Skinnyard. Yeah. We'd get in arguments how to properly pronounce that.
Linyard?
A cousin of mine finally said, dummy, it's just Leonard Skinner. Okay, that's all it... Oh, okay, all right. Who's Leonard? Is he in the band? Can I meet Pink Floyd at some point? No. So, where do we leave off here, Fudd? Was that you? Did you?
It was Let Him In. And that
Let
was
Him In,
you.
right. That was me.
And we got off on Keith Moon.
Keith Moon and Rush and Neil Peart. Yes, all right.
One that was interesting, it wasn't until you had forwarded me your preliminary list that I saw it on there, and I hadn't heard it for years. And then when I saw it and then have subsequently listened to it, I thought, oh, yes, it was ever present. Diana Ross's theme from the 1975 film Mahogany, which is about a black woman who becomes a successful Rome fashion designer.
Wow.
But, do you know where your life is going to? It's... I don't know, there's something about that. Of course, that song became probably the most memorable part of the film, and of course a top 10 hit.
Right.
But yes, you could hear it on WCCO, and probably just a pretty kind of haunting melody.
And she had a very recognizable, professional grade. Some would say one of the great voices of 70s soft rock. R&B, Diana Ross. You got to be kidding me. But yeah, boy, omnipresent. And I was not getting out of the car without having heard that in 1976. It was going to get played. That was going to get played, and then the piano solo, Nadia's theme.
Right.
The theme from The Young and the Restless.
Yeah.
Restless. There's no T on the end. Restless. Les Nessman. I and my mom loved it. She was a piano teacher and a church organist. And, it's good to finally hear something like this again. Just like, oh, God, get me. Whatever. I'm going to stick my head out the car window for a while. Is that okay? And act like a dog. I don't know. It was kind of melancholy.
Yeah. Well, I do remember Nadia Comaneci, the gymnast.
Yep. Romanian, I think.
That was back in the days when I actually watched the Olympics. It's been a long time.
Right.
But so I think I even liked it enough to try sounding it out on our piano, which was a hand-me-down used. It was a player piano with all the automatic player parts taken out.
Oh, wow.
And it was painted orange. And it was in our basement.
That's really strange.
And out of tune. And, my mom always wanted to have a piano in the house. Growing up, she always had one. Eventually, I did take lessons. But, yeah, I tried to, just at least the beginning part, those simple keys. And
Yep.
So, yeah, I think of slow motion shots of Nadia Comaneci and the orange piano in the basement of...
Nadia Comaneci vaulting over an orange piano.
Dee, 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 dee.
Oh, yes.
Dee, 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 dee. Yes, indeed, a CCO classic.
No escaping it. Yes, indeed. I think you're up,
I
Bud.
am. Here's one of those hits that I enjoy probably more today than I did back then, but I heard it a lot. This was a first Grammy Award winner for the group Chicago.
Chicago.
If You Leave Me Now.
If You Leave Me Now.
Written and sung by the bass player, Peter Cetera.
Cetera.
Who, of course, later went on to record his own, music for the Karate Kid and such things like that.
Became kind of a standout solo artist in the 80s.
Cool song, and it is part of my current yacht rock.
Not a lot of rock songs that feature a French horn.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then echoed by a single note or single string guitar kind of little thing.
There's a chime at the beginning. Din, 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 and then there's a ching.
They're little fingertip cymbals kind of.
I guess I didn't get that far in my research this afternoon. Figure that out. So it's like
there's a name for those, and I wish I keep wanting to say castanets, and I know that's not true. I mean that's not right. There's a name for them, but you know what we're talking about. But
yes.
I'm trying to remember the title. Chicago was infamous for coming out with all kinds of albums with numbers for titles.
Right.
And there was that one album we all had that was kind of basically a mid-'70s to late '70s greatest hits. Was it Chicago 11? Chicago 10? Chicago 11? They're painting a billboard.
Right.
And all falling off.
Yeah.
The paint buckets
Scaffold
going,
kind of
and they're
thing.
kind of losing it off the scaffolding and laughing and hanging on. And it was a crazy... I mean, the drive to Cabin Country, you were going to get one of those songs.
Oh, yes.
But without a doubt, 76, it was an overload, if you will, of If You Leave Me Now. And that was every station. I mean, every station was playing If You Leave Me Now. So
it was a
hats off to
gold
Cetera
and
and
platinum
friends.
record for those guys.
That was huge. Yeah, and still, I think those reunion show kind of things, people really want to hear that before they leave, which, of course, is challenging with Cetera not being a part of this anymore. It's like, how do you mimic that? Well, it's not going to sound the same. I hope you're okay with that. Maybe they get some 23-year-old kid from the Philippines who sounds just like Peter Cetera. I'm not sure, but anyway, yeah.
Somebody out there somewhere has a dead ringer voice.
They're going to sound just like Peter Cetera. I remember prom 83 and 84 and hearing a lot of Peter Cetera.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to love, or if you love, what is it? I'm going to love you for the rest of your life, or I can't remember the name of the song.
Well, that and Hard to Say I'm Sorry.
Hard to Say I'm Sorry, yes.
Another sheet music acquisition. I think I learned the whole thing.
Did you? Wow.
On the piano for
well
a while.
done, Fudd. The orange piano?
No, that was different. That was after we moved out of that house and didn't bring the orange piano with.
I've got another one for you here.
All right. Let's hear it.
Many would say, and fans of his, and they are legion.
Yeah.
and they span many generations. And I won't lie, I got hooked up in the, what was it, mid-'90s, kind of second coming, third, fifth coming of Paul Simon.
Uh-huh.
Here he is again, and he was doing his sort of the Graceland album and Rhythm of the Saints. He was doing sort of, I don't know what, Graceland was sort of more, it was like South African music meets Delta blues. Ladysmith Black Mambazo doing these South African vocals in the back, and a monster bass player. I don't know, I wish I could remember the bass player's name he had on that session, but the guy played a fretless, and he was ridiculous. I mean, I attempt to be a bass player from time to time, and I don't know how in the world this guy does what he does. But this was earlier, obviously. It's 1976, right. And this is he's ditched Art Garfunkel by this point, and he's doing his own stuff. And goodbye, reddish afro.
Yeah.
I'm going my own. And he came out in 76 with 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover.
Righto.
50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. And this was one of those where, because there was a little harmonizing going on in it, and it got a little call and response-y, and lots of different names and kind of rhyming things he was doing, and my mom just thought it was so much fun to make up her own versions of this as the car would be going along. And I was just like, well, she likes it. I guess I don't mind it. I mean, whatever, but just kind of that real soft-spoken kind of drum roll, kind of, muted drums, and him kind of whispering and whisper singing ways he's going to try to sneak out on this woman.
Yeah.
All the suggestions from his friends. I didn't do a lot for me,
I didn't get it at the time. I just thought he was sneaking out of the house or something, but I didn't know it was away from a lover. And well, so it makes me wonder. Again, this begs for more trivia research, which I did not do on this song. But he'd broken up with Art Garfunkel, but he's also married to Carrie Fisher for a while. Was this before, during, after that? I wonder.
I have no idea. I would guess maybe just slightly before, or they were married at this point.
Because this is 76. Wait a minute, Star Wars didn't come out till 77. So I seem to remember a picture in People magazine or something.
Okay.
Crushing a glass or something, and a wedding still.
Sure.
So it must have been after. So the song must have been before their wedding, their marriage. So perhaps our listeners, if they're not driving, are Googling it right now.
Yes.
Well, if you guys get that hotline going, we could call in. I don't know when you're going to do that. You keep yelling at Don.
Yeah. Well, it'll happen at some point, we think.
Yeah, so we're waiting for some... we're waiting for something. I don't know.
Something's got to give.
Something's got to give. Well, let's see.
I've got some honorable mentions here, Fudd.
Well,
I'm wondering if you're going to throw... There's a couple here where I'm like, boy, these are nuggets, and we haven't touched them yet.
I've got three more. I think we'll just keep going with these.
Why don't you roll with it? Because my list now is, I've kind of hit my heavies, and I'm down into here are my...
couple of extras.
These are without a doubt honorary mentions. If they can't make the top 10.
Well, one of them that was always heard.
Yes.
Let Your Love Flow by the Bellamy Brothers.
Indeed.
We didn't mention this one already, did we?
We did not. Long hair, cowboy hats, and big mustaches.
So Let Your Love Flow by the Bellamy Brothers was actually written by somebody who was part of Neil Diamond's band, a roadie named Larry Williams. And Neil Diamond wasn't interested in the song. And so the drummer for Neil Diamond passed it on to the Bellamy Brothers.
They were studio musicians. They were
studio musicians. When they recorded Let Your Love Flow, many members of Neil Diamond's band recorded the song with them. And
sat in on the session.
Apparently, they said, too, it was like, it just kind of came out. Only took 2 or 3 takes, and we were done. And
wow.
It just flowed.
The professionals who were letting it flow.
Yeah, so there you go. But yeah, I always heard it. It was kind of almost a quasi-country-ish.
Country, yeah. I felt like it was
song.
crossing some lines. Pop, it worked. Rock stations, 70s, you're getting stuff like Poco and Loggins and Messina and America. And Bellamy Brothers, why not? But then you'd hear it too on the country stations.
Yeah, is it my imagination, or was there a little bit more crossing over of genres?
Pollinization, yeah.
Like John
pollination,
Denver?
excuse me.
We haven't mentioned any John Denver songs.
John Denver, I would throw America in that bunch. Loggins of Messina, my God, early on, before Kenny Loggins became, Top Gun, Caddyshack, Whenever I Call You Friend, or whenever...
Yeah.
Is that right?
Whenever I Call You Friend, with
Stevie Nicks.
Stevie
Indeed,
Nicks,
yes. But, when it was he and Jim Messina...
Yeah.
Or like I said, Lobo or Poco, all these kind of... Something they kind of called the California sound. Sort of just the very early days of what we would call yacht rock.
Yeah.
Jackson Browne, some of that Doobie Brothers stuff. It was like, well, it's sort of easy rock meets country, The first couple records by the Eagles.
Sure.
Peaceful, easy feeling. And, things like that. You're like, wow, this is borderline country music, and it became very popular in the United States in the 70s. So the Bellamy Brothers, I think I saw them too on like, hey, we're watching Mike Douglas or Tony Orlando and Dawn's show, and it's the Bellamy Brothers, and they're belting out Let your love flow, and they look like they could be roping cattle on a Schmidt Scenic. So without a doubt.
Indeed. Well, that makes 10 golden hits from 1976 already, but Bjorn and I will be back in a moment with a few more honorable mentions.
A long day's angling or an end to the afternoon's water skiing brings with it a trophy-size hunger. And no place satisfies that hunger better than the Cracklin' Jack Pine, Crow Wing County's unique supper club. Cracklin' Jack's offers you the finest house salads with your choice of dressings, an anchor-sized foil-wrapped baked potato, and all the tap beers and mixed drinks you've come to expect when dining out. And the kicker? You get to cook your own meat to your own personal likings and tastes. Bring in your own porterhouse, T-bone, or New York strip. You're the chef. You decide when your meat is medium rare or well done. And if you'd like to leave the meat course to us, we proudly offer our half-pound whitetail frank, a mighty link that will sizzle and hiss on our custom 15 by 20-foot char grill that you'll find in the Jack Pine Grill Room. Any seasoning you might need is there for you, and you'll never run out of butter. Join us at the Cracklin' Jack Pine. Your chef's hat and apron are optional, and reservations are still strongly suggested. The Cracklin' Jack Pine is now proudly offering a mix of Roquefort and French dressings for those who like something a little different on their salads. We hope to see you soon at the Cracklin' Jack Pine.
Now back to Bjorn and Fudd with more hits from 76. Well, some of those supplementals, what do you have?
Well, I didn't want to sidestep. I know I hit you with the Wings, Let 'Em In already. Interesting that around this time you were still getting like, the Beatles are gone, but they're still in the top 100.
Yeah.
With some songs. And the Beatles actually had the first version of this, I believe, but it was covered by the funk sensation Earth, Wind, and Fire. They turned it into this big kind of like arena rock horn funk thing. Got to Get You Into My Life.
Right.
And again, somehow that made the cut at WCCO. We'd be
the Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Earth,
version.
Wind, and Fire. Yeah.
Oh. It wasn't too yaha for your mom.
Well, I don't know if it was okay for Steve Cannon. It was okay for the car. And we'd hear that. It was great bumper music. Some of those just little horn moments. From the song, they'd run into commercial off that. And we'll be right back after this. And then Northtown Mall is glad to bring you. This kind of thing. But, so Earth, Wind, and Fire's Got to Get You Into My Life. There were a couple others. 76 was a big year for Earth, Wind, and Fire. But that was the only one I threw on my list. I would have to say I can't believe it hasn't come up yet. And my wife has been listening to this lately and commenting, you know, the one guy in this, the two guys in this band, the one guy looks like Harry Potter's really mean uncle Dursley from the Harry Potter films with really long hair and a suit. England Dan and John Ford Coley.
Yes.
Really love to see you tonight.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that, for some reason, that and Get Closer, I kind of thought they were by the same band when I was younger. But
well, and then throw Starbuck in there, too, and it's kind of like it's sort of one big... You know, I work with a couple of colleagues who are age or even just a tad older. And no disrespect to these bands, but one of these gentlemen always jokingly refers to, oh, that was one of those songs by REO Styxwagon. Journey Styx, REO Styx Journey. I mean, they're the same band, aren't they? They're just sort of... Right. I know. I always want to come in there. Can we lump Toto in there with them too? No. That's a totally... Come on. They were good. REO Styx Journey. That was just one big band.
Oh,
Starbuck.
Funny. Yeah. Starbuck, England
Dan and John Ford Coley and Seals and Crofts. They all kind of just morphed into one big...
Hello, yeah. It's been a while.
I'm amazed. Did Bread come out with nothing in 1976?
Boy, that's a good question.
David Gates and Bread.
They were ever present. I think they were a little earlier.
Probable.
If was a huge one. That was one I even liked as a kid. There were a few that the melodies stuck in my ears as, like, oh, that's pretty. I like that. And If was one of them.
For me, it was Bread, Chapin, and Croce. We're kind of like, they're all the same guy, aren't they?
Right.
I mean, Jim Croce, Harry Chapin, and David Gates and Bread. Aren't they all just kind of one big wad?
One big wad.
Rising on a bread table somewhere. I don't know. But, England Dan and John Ford Coley. And then let's not, a tip to Cabin Country. Tip of the cap. According to Billboard's list, on the app I was looking at, Gordon Lightfoot.
Oh, yes.
1976.
The Edmund Fitzgerald.
The wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
The Edmund Fitzgerald.
And I had a version that I would play in the car, and my son would hear it, and he'd get all weird about, oh, wow, oh, yeah, we got to hear all of this. And he actually works at a summer camp run by the Y up in the Ely area, and that's a favorite to sing at like campfire sing-alongs, is the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
No, we're not talking about Camp du Nord.
We are, in fact, talking about Camp du Nord.
Right.
This is true. Another tip of the cap to the mighty du Nord. That's a favorite for sing-alongs, and
really?
a lot of times musically inclined counselors or people on staff will sit around at night, community sing or whatever, and somebody will bust out a guitar. You'll hear the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, and he's come back from camp a complete Lightfoot devotee. He's just like,
really?
Oh my God, what a great song! It's so haunting. But the version I would play, I know this. I don't think this was the album version, but there's a news intro with like Harry Reasoner reading the actual breaking news of apparently loss of the Edmund Fitzgerald, Great Lakes ore carrier. Heavy weather off Whitefish Bay. He's doing the reading of this, and then the guitar, that kind of echoey electric guitar, starts chiming in, slowly drowning out. I think it's Harry Reasoner, and that added some spookiness to it for my son. That was just like, oh,
wow,
we got to hear that again
because it's real.
Like the fifth time, I'm going, okay, yeah, I get it, I love it, and Minnesota history, Michigan history, Wisconsin, the Great Lakes, I get it, and what a tragedy, and oh my God, and they were so close, they almost made it, and they all died.
November 10th, 1975.
You bet.
Was the sinking, and
oh yes,
our Canadian singer-songwriter friend Gordon Lightfoot was inspired by a Newsweek article, and then wrote the song, which came out in August of 76.
I don't think that was his biggest hit, though. I really don't.
I think Sundown was
Sundown
his biggest.
was probably it, which was hauntingly catchy.
I think the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald wasn't as big in European countries.
Okay.
A lot of these top tens were kind of world famous. I mean, by the looks of it, by the glancing at the info I found. But
just a couple more here, Fudd, if you'll humor me. I mean, I've got this jumbotron list where I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe. Hall & Oates were very active.
Oh, yes.
In 76, Sarah Smile, She's Gone. Keith Carradine?
I'm easy.
Yes.
Well, that was from a Robert Altman movie called Nashville.
Okay.
And I remember hearing the song all the time, not liking it. And my wife, she and I did watch this Altman film about 4 or 5 years ago, and we were both kind of rolling our eyes at the song. It's not my way to...
Was he an actor by trade who just happened to sing?
Keith Carradine. He was one of the Carradines. He's David Carradine, Kung Fu's
Kung Fu, of course,
brother.
yeah.
Well, there's, of course...
John
Carradine.
The horror film father, right?
Right.
1976 brought us a TV show that my neighbors and I would reenact on a daily basis with our toy guns and our blue shirts and blue jeans. Mm-hmm. I always had to be Deke. I don't know who you had to be from SWAT, Fudd, but theme from SWAT. I mean,
yeah.
I think I owned that. I'm not sure how I owned that 45, or it was on a K-Tel record that was popular at Red Owl. But I had the theme from SWAT, and I would put that on, and that wah-wah guitar.
That was a huge
Ray Conniff, yes.
I love that song. I don't even know the character names from the show, but
I just remember Deke.
Deke.
Yeah, Deke was light on his feet and acrobatic. About that same time, I already mentioned Wings. We can't forget their 76 offering Silly Love Songs. Which I always wanted to brush my teeth after I heard that. But Frankie Valli, kind of his comeback,
63.
December 1963.
Yeah.
Oh, what a night.
Yes.
You really can't meet people from our generation, Fudd, who don't have some kind of emotional tie to the song Oh, What a Night, December 1963. I don't know why that is. I don't mind it. I mean, I liked the fact that Frankie wasn't doing the crazy falsetto stuff from his early career anymore. He was just singing. And it had kind of a, dare I compare it to almost like an early Billy Joel kind of sound, kind of upbeat piano, kind of moving along. But
and that I do remember a little trivia I read. It was originally supposed to be about 1933.
1933.
About the end of Prohibition. But it was Frankie Valli who said, no, let's modernize it and make it, like our own memories or something.
Sure.
But yeah, it was kind of popular at weddings. I don't know if it still is.
Well, and roller rinks. I mean, half the people I've talked to from my various friend groups over the years, oh God, it's those who grew up in the northern suburbs remember a place called Saints North. Yeah. A roller rink where there was, you roller skated with. You were just old enough now to be interested in other people romantically, and people would try to find the courage to ask someone to skate to Oh, What a Night, December 1963. That's what I'm hearing. I was never a roller skater. I was just like too clumsy. Ice skates, sure. Roller skates, I can't do this, But we passed right over the most, in my humble opinion, I'm going to get tagged here as a hater. I know. Barry Manilow. Oh. I just don't care for Barry Manilow. And there was a lot of that going up north in the car on CCO. Yeah. I Write the Songs, Mandy.
Oh, my gosh, my mom was a big fan, so we heard a lot of it on the record.
76 was I Write the Songs. Another one for you that's just going to be like a slap in the face. Eric Carmen's All by Myself.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Let's get together and cry for a while.
Oh, yeah.
KC and the Sunshine Band, Donnie and Marie were still around. Something called Deep Purple, which I don't know by title, but if you Spotify it or Last FM it or whatever app you like, you'll hear it and be like, oh, that's what it was called? Donnie and Marie. And let's not kid ourselves, Fudd. Elton John was huge. John Sebastian made the scene with the theme from Welcome Back, Kotter.
Oh, yeah.
But this one is up close and personal for both you and I. 76 was the year of Boz Scaggs and the Dirty Lowdown.
Dirty Lowdown.
The Dirty Lowdown.
Yeah, that slap bass, I think.
Oh, yes. Casey and the Sunshine Band, yeah, okay. Gary Wright, Dreamweaver.
Oh, yes.
All that kind of stuff. That kind of curious. Let's research different religious ideas. I think he was all into like extra sensory projection, things like that. Took a lot of heat for that in the trades, but and then the very. I hear this now, and I don't know if I want to cry a lot or hit someone. Shannon by Henry Gross.
Oh.
A song about a sailboat.
Oh, yeah.
Shannon is going off to sea. I forget. It's just a high-pitched kind of... Oh, boy. There he goes. But Elton John, yeah, God.
Yeah, Don't Go Breaking My Heart.
With Kiki D. Yeah. Island Girl, Crocodile Rock,
Yeah.
Rock of the Westies. That was a big year. Big year for him. And I apologize, Helen, but anything Helen Reddy, I was ready to...
Yeah, right.
I'll tell you, let me out here, and I'll just... Anne Marie and Helen Reddy.
Yeah.
Let me out of the car, and I'll just run the rest of the way. Doesn't matter. I'll get there at midnight. I don't even care. Just let me out of the car.
Yeah.
I cannot, will not. I can't do it.
I think, like you mentioned before...
Carpenters.
A certain point you got on the way up to the cabin where, the CCO and the home Twin Cities stations dropped out.
Yeah.
And then maybe a local station would pick it up. But I seem to remember once we were up there, the radio wasn't on as much. I don't know. How was that for you?
Well, and if, the radio that was on, my dad would be out there working on building something or re-roofing something or planting something, trees going in or putting up the shed or sinking a new well or, there's always a job. Always. We went up every weekend because there was stuff to do. It was a second house.
Of course.
Much smaller, much flimsier house, but it was a second place. And so he always had a radio with him. I don't know what he was listening to. I really don't. I mean, it was on a good day you could still get CCO, and And I remember him out there every now and again, like listening to the Twins, Twins baseball. He could pick that up through Brainerd Walker or whatever, Alexandria Walker. But the music, he didn't care so much for that. He wasn't really interested in hearing music. He liked people talking.
Yeah.
He hearkened back to his youth with like farm reports, agriculture field reports. Hog futures are down 20 cents on the dollar right today. And he'd be hammering away. Interesting. Missed his old farm youth, or hunting stories. If he could tap into anybody that was talking about hunting and fishing, he loved that.
Yeah.
Maybe take a break and come inside for a while when it was time for Virgil Ward on TV.
Yes.
Yeah.
I seem to remember in that cabin my dad built on Osakis, listening hard and straining my ears. We could barely get CCO in, and they were playing E.G. Marshall in the Mystery Theater.
Oh, yes.
And that great,
CBS
scary
Mystery Theater
opening theme. In that great bicentennial year of 1976, I think many of us had the school T-shirts you could buy.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was navy blue, and the sleeves were white with red stars on them, maybe some stripes over the shoulders. And then you had your school name on the front. Mine was Carver Elementary in Maplewood, Minnesota.
Right.
Did you have one for White Bear?
We had, I feel like there were white kind of sky blue ringer T-shirts, neck and sleeves, and kind of a blue ring, and then kind of like a red, white, and blue kind of waving banner kind of thing, and then a big Liberty Bell.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like Bel Air Elementary. But, in 1976, I was in sixth grade, Fudd. I mean, we were the top of the feeding chain, and, it was kind of like, the third and second graders might want to wear an elementary school T-shirt, but, man, I already got my eyes on the junior high. It's probably not going to be real cool to be walking into day 3 of 7th grade wearing a Bel Air Elementary T-shirt, 76 was a big year. A lot of interesting stuff. Bicentennial, Fly the Flag, Elton John,
Right.
Philadelphia Freedom.
Philadelphia Freedom, yeah.
And the Rocky theme, and very, very in the middle of kind of a fuel crisis, and
Jimmy Carter.
The post-Vietnam War hangover, and pop psychology, I'm okay, you're okay, 1970s, and all of a sudden there was this, it's okay to be an ex-hippie and really into our country, because we're 200 years old, and I got these quarters now that have a drummer in a 3-cornered hat. Wow. Even the cartoons, Fudd. You remember the cartoons like the Archie's 76?
Oh.
The Archie's Saturday morning cartoon
Yeah, I
started
remember
with them
watching.
like Archie, Jughead, and Reggie all marching and playing the fife with the U.S. flag. I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
I was a 6th grade kid going, this is marketing, man. I mean, come on.
Oh, yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Well, might be a good time to sort of
Fade out
bling,
like the
bling
great...
a crows. Hello. Oh, my goodness gracious. What in the heck?
Bring a close.
Bling a crows or bring a close.
Schmecks.
Wow. Wow. Don, you'll take that out, won't you?
Don, cut that, will you? Cutting room floor. Let's go.
Well,
Pete's sake.
it was a blast
It
thinking.
was good stuff.
The lead up and
yeah.
texting back and forth in anticipation.
Without a doubt. Good things, and we're not all that far from possibly heading up
That's right.
Riverside again here.
We just opened up the cabin. Fudd Sr. and Scotty Cummins, his son Toby, and I went up, put in the dock, raked the leaves, turned on the pump, and so it's time to break out the calendar.
Amen.
I was about to call you Fudd, Bjorn.
Yeah.
And head up there.
Get that white whale out in the water and get back that son of a gun that snapped your line last year.
Yes. Give it a try.
Perhaps the Arbogast will come floating back up. Something tells me it won't. But well, thanks for staying with us, and this will bring yet another episode of Cabin Country to a close, and maybe something very similar somewhere in the near future.
We'll see you then.
We'll see you then. We'll make some more coffee.
Sounds good.
All right. Good night, friends.